Okay, you have chosen content, purpose, and structure for today. So, understanding these terms can really help with effective reading and then also effective learning. So, if you're in this lesson today, content, purpose, and structure, expect to learn what these concepts mean, how you can use them, not just in English class, but in other classes too, and how they will help you as a reader and as a learner. So expect an overview of the terms and expect to get some hands-on practice with these terms and how they can really help you in your reading skills. Getting these down is really important for not only your just academics and doing well in school and doing well in reading, but also in just becoming an effective and a quicker reader. Effective readers understand the content of an article or a text, the purpose, and the structure pretty quickly. So let's take a look at what these mean. The content of a text is just the what. So if we were to take a look at a text, we would just be considering what is this text saying. Sometimes the content of a text can be a challenge in itself because it might be a tougher lexile level. It might have to do with completely new information that we've never seen before. So consider as you're reading a text, is the content tripping me up? And if so, spend more time digging into the content of a text. But let's take a look at some examples. So I'm on the Achieve 3000 page. I'm going to pick this one because it popped up on the news channel. All right, let's switch these questions. There we go. The lowdown on lowriders. It's a cool looking bike. All right. Oh, it won't let me. There we go. The lowdown on lowrider. So if I'm looking at just the content of this text, I'm just going to look at the what. So I've got the title, and I'm going to go ahead and read the first paragraph. Olathe, Kansas, in a city in, I don't know if I'm saying that's right, but in a city in Kansas, there's a school club that's as rare as one of its custom creations. The club's dozen plus members from Olathe North and Olathe West high schools meet regularly in one school's auto repair shop to learn and practice the art and mechanics of their craft. They reimagine bicycle frames, design with metal and paint, and add lights and chrome. They are the Hispanic Leadership and Lowrider Bike Club, and they create and cruise on bikes and trikes that go bajito y despacito, low and slow. Sorry for my bad Spanish. So if I'm looking at content, let's say an instructor asked me to annotate for content, I might just summarize the what of the paragraph. Well, what's the what? I think it's just student clubs meet to create these low riders. That's it. That's the content. It's just the what, the information in the text. Sometimes you might be asked to summarize it. Sometimes you might be asked to go through and make sure you understand the content, right? We have to do this naturally when we're reading like a textbook, right? To learn new content. That's kind of that one. If the content is the why, the purpose, or I'm sorry, the content is the what, the purpose is the why. So we might consider why the author wrote the text, the author's intent behind not only the whole text, but each chunk or possibly even each specific paragraph. A chunk is different than a paragraph. This might be something that your English instructor goes over, so this is good review to have. For example, I think that the intro ends after the second paragraph, not just the first paragraph, the second paragraph, because in the third paragraph, it just says Eric Arazo, the club's faculty advisor, summed it up for the Kansas City Star. Lowrider is about expressing yourself through something metal. And that feels like evidence to me. So I think that these first two paragraphs are the intro, and that's a chunk, okay, a section. And you might be asked by an instructor to identify the purpose behind a chunk. In this case, this is the intro. Well, to sum it up, we've read the first paragraph. The second one reads, "These bikes will never win a race, pound down a mountain single track, or land a BMX bunny hop bar spin. That's not what they're built for. In fact, some ride so close to the concrete that their pedals can't turn. Instead, they finished products celebrate imagination and style, dedication, and elbow grease. They also promote collaboration between mentors and mentees. So, if I'm asked to identify the purpose behind those two paragraphs, that chunk, I'm going to consider, why did the author do this? Why did the author include these words or this content in this way? Well, I'd just say that the author is trying to introduce the topic of lowriders with some details about how they work, okay, and how the clubs run. So get into the author's head with purpose. Why is this important? Well, to be an informed reader, we have to understand that there's a purpose behind every text we read, okay? Authors aren't just writing just to write. You always write for a purpose. It's not just to write and have it sit there. When you write, you want something from your reader or from your audience. Maybe you're writing down in a journal and you're wanting to get some thoughts out of your mind and onto paper just to de-stress. Or you're writing an email to your teacher to ask for an extension on an assignment. You always have a purpose when you write, and we need to understand that every author has a purpose too when they write a text, right? So it's the author's intent behind the text and each chunk. So you might be asked to identify the purpose behind a chunk, which we just did to introduce the student clubs for lowriders and some of the details about what they are. But let's think about the purpose of the entire text, this whole article. We haven't read it, right? But I'm going to give you a little tip here. When you're reading, a lot of the information that is crucial to understanding a text shows up in the beginning and in the end. Oftentimes, the middle is evidence. We'll get more into that later. But I'm going to go ahead and read the last two paragraphs here. And I think that this is the conclusion because it says in the end. So I think the conclusion starts here. In the end, creating a cruise-worthy lowrider bike is rarely a low-budget affair. Costs can climb into the hundreds, even thousands of dollars. Manny Silva, who runs a bike shop in Compton, California, is considered the godfather of lowrider bikes. He says the most expensive custom ride he ever built topped $15,000. But it's not all about the money, lowrider aficionados insist. Pride and joy are built into the effort of turning humble bicycles into rolling works of self-expression. Meanwhile, the shared efforts convert co-creators into friends and family. You will see those qualities displayed at every lowrider bike competition and parade where the lowrider culture is present. Always low, always slow, and forever cool. The purpose behind those last two paragraphs is to conclude the article by explaining the costs and benefits of lowriders. Up here in the second to last paragraph, you have the costs. In the last paragraphs, it talks kind of about the community aspect and the benefits, right? But the purpose behind the overall article, I think, and again, I'm just looking at the intro and the conclusion. I actually haven't read the entire thing, but I think that the purpose of the entire article is just to shed light on this type of student club and this type of artwork, basically, and self-expression, and to just share about it and to appreciate it, I think. So we can actually understand the author's purpose, and it's really important that we consider that when we read, right? Which is why I'm teaching it now. We can consider that for each chunk and for the overall text, and sometimes it can be really helpful and handy to get to the very end for that. All right, the last one we're going to go over today is structure. So if the content of the text is the what, and the purpose is the why, the structure is the how. So for structure, we're going to consider the organization of the text and the chunks. So as I already mentioned, this can be helpful because it can really help us make good, quick predictions. This one right here, I understand that the structure of this article is that there's two concluding paragraphs. Most likely there's two introduction paragraphs. And I'm going to continue chunking. You might be asked to chunk a text too in your classes, and that's what that means. I'm drawing a line. Let's say I'm annotating this. I'm drawing a line after the first two paragraphs. This is kind of a transition paragraph or an evidence. I'm seeing more body and evidence here. Some examples, and then the last two are the conclusion. So you're just going to take a look at how the text is structured and how the author moves from the intro to the conclusion. Here's why this is important. I want you guys to be the kind of readers and writers who understand structure patterns. For example, I can tell as a reader myself, right based on the article and the first couple sentences, the title and the first couple sentences, that this is just a topical piece. It's an informational piece, kind of just like a Wikipedia entry. Because the title is just, it says the lowdown, right? The lowdown, the scoop on lowriders. There's photos, which implies that it could be some sort of like just entry or quick informational topical article. And when you can identify patterns in texts really quickly, when you can identify the structure, it can help you make good predictions in your reading. And it can help you see patterns and also maybe even to emulate or mirror those patterns in your own writing. Because if you see a really good structure out there, for example, I love how this starts with some examples in the intro and ends on kind of a positive, warm, and fuzzy notes about the benefits. You could also, if you're writing a similar piece, could mirror that and start with examples about what you want to talk about and end on a note about the benefits of a topic that you're discussing. So when we can see effective patterns and structure in other authors' writings, we can also mirror those in our own writing. Okay, so that's an overview of what these mean. In essence, if you got anything out of this lesson, just remember the content is the what, the purpose is the why, the structure is the how, and understanding that these three elements are what often make up a text, and that they're present in anything that you read or in any information that you consume is definitely going to sharpen your reading and your writing and your learning skills. All right, thank you.